So, when you got started with your business, what was the opening that you saw in the market?
Okay, I think I just need to rewind back a bit to give the context of how the business got
Yeah.
started. Right? Okay, so I'm originally from India, so I came to London back in 2000 as a typical, like a IT consultant. Just came to work in London. So for the first 10 years, I was working as a consultant in a very specific technology called Microsoft BizTalk Server. It's a enterprise integration product. So it helps companies to connect different systems together. So if you look at a large company like a Shell or a Boeing, or so they will have 20 different enterprise systems like SAP and Oracle and PeopleSoft and Workday and Salesforce and this and that. They all need to talk to each other at some point, and this Microsoft BizTalk server is a middleware product that sits in the middle, and it helps you connect all these systems together. And that's my area of expertise on consulting. And I did 10 years of that, implementing solutions for different customers. And that's when I found a gap in the market. Like every time, every customer I'm working with, we are redoing same thing again and again. Like once you deploy some solutions into the production system, how do you run it on a efficiently, like on a day-to-day basis, the security aspects and the monitoring and analytics, and when you have a large team, how do you manage it, and those kind of things. That is how, that is when, I identified a problem, and then I started as more like a typical founder kind of, I'm coming from a technical background, and there is a typically, there's no business intention. I thought, okay, there is a problem, let me try to solve it, and I started working on it on part time. So I started building some stuff, and then after a year later, I went to Seattle, Redmond for a Microsoft conference, and I was showing to the guys like, okay, this is what I've been working on for almost a year, and what do you think about it? And everybody everybody said, oh, this is exactly what they want, and they're really, happy to, pay for it. And that is how the company got started. And the first product is called BizTalk 360. That is, the Covey.co is an umbrella brand we created only recently in 2018. We'll come to that story, how the name got transformed. But originally, the company started with a single idea of a product called BizTalk 360.
So, tell me about the journey, or like what happened in the road to first million in revenue. How did you find your first customers? How did you choose the marketing channels? How were you acquiring those customers? And what, if anything, changed? On the way to first million.
Sure. Coming from a technical background, of course, you start from zero. You know nothing about how do you take your product to an end customer. When I think back, a lot of things happened without even my knowledge. Today those things are, people spend a lot of money. Even we do a lot of spend a lot of money to get to the channel. So the way it worked out well for me was, since 2004, I was blogging about this particular technology like BizTalk server. Even today, if you go and search for any article, anything related to BizTalk, I guarantee the first two results will be something from my blog. So I written over 500 articles, very deep technical articles about this particular technology. And that when I launched the product in 2010, the first thing I did was, just put a basic website over a weekend, and then I just put a blog post saying, okay, this is what it is. And then, all of a sudden, the first inquiry came all the way from Hong Kong, through the site. No connection. I don't have any connection with that person from Hong Kong. And that's how the first, the first customer came for the product. And at that time, I had about 15,000 readers for that blog. And considering this is a very niche area, Microsoft themselves got only about 10,000 customers worldwide for this product. So with that context, you can imagine, like when you have 15,000 readers, probably you build up that audience of the entire community without your knowledge. So from 2004 to 2006, I was blogging for my own, out of my own interest. Like it just appears as being a pure technical enthusiast. I was building it, and then that became my audience. That is one thing. And the second thing is, in Microsoft, there's something called most valuable professional. So it's called MVP. Microsoft basically monitors people who are very influential in the community. I used to speak in user group. More, it's nothing to do with business. It's more about technical user groups, presenting and explaining problems, and they give you like this MVP award. It's very in a very special way. Basically, there are only like 20 people in the whole world awarded this MVP for this specific technology. So if I look back now, you automatically an influencer within that community. With like people follow you, and then people look out for your articles and speaking and all those things. So that is the second channel. Like automatically you become an influencer, and that brought in a lot of like interest and leads. And that is how like the initial days were. Later we scaled up. I used to like being in London, it helped me to go and speak in various small user group meetups in anywhere in Europe. It's about a couple of hours flight journey. So even if I see there is something coming this evening or next evening, I'll just reach out to the organizers and I'll go present it. And that became, every time I go, it's a very small groups, 50 people, some 30, 40 people user groups, I go present. And then you'll automatically, by at the end of the day, you'll get the 3 4 valid leads, and then eventually it will convert as well. So it's a step by step, a gradual growth. Like I was alone until the first 30 customers, and then step by step we scaled up the team. So yeah, it's a typical channels, but it all came organically, like rather than you're putting explicit efforts at the early days. Yeah.
Hmm. So it was like niche groups, niche events, niche content, and you were selling through your expertise. How did that, or at what point did that start scaling beyond you? So it wasn't just about you in particular, but you had a team that was acquiring customers.
Yeah, I think these were the initial days how I started acquiring customers. And after that, once you reach 50, 60 customers, then we started partnerships, because since it's a Microsoft ecosystem, there are companies, consulting companies who does the implementation of Microsoft products for their customers. And again, they came inbound as well. A lot of them, like they somehow came to know about this product through their clients or somebody. And then we established the partner channels in multiple countries. We established some 40 or 45 partners across the world. They become one of the main driving factors in terms of bringing leads. Even today, for that product, it's more of a partner-led product. So we do a lot of the paid channels, but the partners contribute nearly 40 to 50% of the revenue for that particular product. Bistock 360 comes from partner channel. And then in 2013 we started our first annual event. So we still do that in London. So we this became became a one of the popular events in that particular community. So about 600 people across the world, they travel to London. It's an in-person event, and Microsoft brings about 15 people from Redmond as a speakers to that event. So even for Microsoft, it became like one of the most important event they need to attend, because we bring the right audience for them as well. All top Fortune 500 companies, they come attend that event. So that became another important channel for us to acquire leads today. So all these things, it takes time. Nothing is overnight. Every channel takes years of nurturing, and then growing gradually. Yeah.
Now, fast forward to today, you're not a mono product company anymore. You have launched other products since. Likely also, you have added on different acquisition channels.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me about the strategy behind launching more products? Like why and what has done, added to your business, and how has your customer acquisition strategy also evolved because of that?
Yeah, sure. From this is the original company, as I said, started 2010 11. For the first 5 years, we didn't do anything else, just a single product, and we focused, and then we have grown that business. It reached a saturation point, right? Okay, like every product, you can only build so much. You can't just keep bombarding with more and more features, and then you reach a point where that's all you can do from a product perspective. And also that the BizTalk server is a very niche market. The TAM is not really big, and it kind of worked out well as a bootstrapped company, because the competition is less, of course, because it's a very niche, small niche, and it's not fit for big players. So that helped us quite a bit to focus and get to a reasonable revenue. I think I'll say maybe 5 million or something like that at that point, to get to that level. Then we started thinking, okay, you gained so much experience in the last 5 years, building and selling a product, and clearly this is a very a limited market, and you wanted to do something. And that's when we started out, okay, that is main reason. And the second main reason is, being a technical guy myself, I'm a bit worried about losing the team, because they get bored, right? After 4 or 5 years, there's nothing much you can do. And we built a really good team, and I wanted to make sure their career progress is also aligned. So that is also another contributing factor. Okay, let's do something. And then the second product, serverless 360, started. So that is with the Microsoft Azure, because Azure is getting a lot of traction, and we saw similar problems what we addressed for this BizTalk server happening in Azure. And that is when we started the second product. And after 3 years in 2018, we experienced a problem of a self these two products require a self-service knowledge base, because we need to have a really good product knowledge base, because dealing with large enterprise customers like Shell and Boeing and IKEA and those kind of people. And product documentation is very, very important. That is when we identified a gap in the market. When it comes to product documentation, it's typically served by a customer support product like Zendesk or Freshdesk or Intercom, those kind of product companies, but they don't pay too much attention to the documentation side, because their core is solving the ticketing system or chat and those kind of areas. And when it comes to self-service knowledge base, especially when you have big technical documentation team, we saw the gap, and that is how the third product, Document 360, was started. And recently we launched a product called Churn 360 for customer success. So it's a multiple factors contributed. And as I said, keeping the team, and then market opportunities, and then we saw there's a potential for us to uh, run it as a playbook. After doing it two times, you know exactly how to do it, right? 2 to 3 years is what it is required now to take a product from zero to we keep 500K as a benchmark revenue, and we are confident every product we can reach it in a 2.5 to 3 years time frame. Yeah.
How has the multi-product strategy contributed to customer retention and revenue per customer?
Yeah, I think all these four products are completely different ICPs. The first two products we sell it to like large enterprises, and there's a significant revenue coming from that. The Document 360 is a typical like a product-led growth kind of a product, a low-touch sales cycle, and we just spend a lot of things on marketing. The first two are sales-led, and the Document 360 is more of a marketing-led product. And in terms of revenue, all of them are contributing significantly. I think the last public number we announced is we crossed 10 million in 2020. So that's the public number we disclosed so far. So now with the team size wise, we are about 240 people. Majority of them are based out of India, and we have a team in London as well. So only two locations. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Does each of these each of these products have a separate, like a go-to-market team, separate sales, separate marketing,
Yeah.
or is it that one team serving all?
No, we run it like a multiple companies within the umbrella brand Covid.co. So they because they are all completely different. They like each team is approximately 30 to 40, but Document 360 is bigger. Half of the company is Document 360, about 110 people in Document 360. But they all operate completely independent way. So they have engineering team is different, marketing is different. It's a single. I'll say like there are four companies within the main company, and there's a horizontal common services like HR and accounts and a small layer, but they all operate independently. Yeah.
Uh, is that a deliberate strategy to launch products for different ICPs, or it just happened?
It just happened, but also I think that is the right strategy as well, because I think I know some multi-product companies, they have like a common sales team to sell any product. But the problem with that approach is the team will pick up the easy ones, right? Some product may be harder to sell, some product may be easy wins. And also, educating the team is harder, because it's more than, like a sales guy should know your product very well, the market landscape very well. They probably can't understand, four different markets and four different products very well, right? So I think I feel it's the right strategy to keep it really isolated. So, when you scale, you move from generalist to specialist, right? You really need more specialists for each one of those disciplines. So that's how we operate here.
Hmm. In technology, it's very common that whatever thing you build that's popular, that has traction in the market, copycats will come build near identical product, and so technological competitive advantage will go away unless you stop innovating. What's your point of view on this, and how are you mitigating? What are you doing in response?
Yeah, I think the copycats will come, but what I realized is, building products is still harder. Like it's not that easy. Like when you look at it at a scale, like okay, the first 20% will look as if, like, you got identical product, but where the product maturity comes is attention to detail, and the lot of details inside the product, and the lot of features inside the product. It's too expensive. Like it's not that simple to, okay, you find a company and let's put like a team of five people and rebuild whatever you can. So the way we try to solve the problem is, like a more innovative, we do more innovation. And then, like as I said, 110 people on document 360 team, and we are shipping features month after month. How much can you copy? Right? Okay, you need to have equal bandwidth, power, and thinking, and and probably you will be lagging anyway. Only after we release something, and then only after a year or so, you will catch up. And also, we will have a lot of features failure as well. Like, if you keep copying, you don't know which one is working and which one is not working. So I typically don't worry too much about copycats. And also a product like document 360, where it's a more of a commodity market. Like it's so big. The market size is so big, everybody need a knowledge base, and you can segment it in multiple ways. You focus on a niche segment, where you could be very specific countries or very specific markets, and these days people won't even know, like, they don't have time to evaluate five different products. So, if your marketing message is good, if you're doing, it's not the product, right? It's a complete package. You need to copy the complete package, which is harder. Like you can't do it. So there's so many factors. I'm not really worried, but you're right. Like today, uh, product and features alone may not be just enough. It's all about going pretty fast and then innovative, and then you're treating it as a full package. It's not just yeah.
What are you guys doing in terms of your narrative, your marketing, brand, to compete and build some moats?
We of course invest quite a lot on branding now. Like we become with this particular, our company is in a city called Coimbatore in India. So it's, first, from a hiring perspective, just we invested quite a lot on building the brand, so people recognize, and they, at least the hiring side, we do that. And the product side, document 360, for example, it's a lot of investment that goes into branding. Like we work with a lot of influencers in YouTube. There's a lot of, like a content strategy is too high for us. There's a lot of investment that goes into content. And today, just a 5 years now I'm just talking more on document 360, because that is one of the focus for us. It's a visible product in the market. Like, people today recognize that within that knowledge based space, we became one of the important players. And we also, uh, got brands like, Airtable and G2. They use us, and that kind of gives us it's a public facing product. So, if you go to G2's knowledge base today, and if you like it, people probably will look at the source code, and you'll see references to document 360. So there's a lot of branding that happens by winning large top brands as well. So I think it's a multiple factors. Yeah.
The space that you're in, you're far from being the only game in town. Everybody has competition. Why has your company succeeded when many others did not? Looking back, what were some strategy decisions that really paid off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think others failed, but the way what we look at it is, like, it's not a zero sum game, right? Winner takes all. Like, maybe it will be applicable for, Google or somebody, but majority of the time there is enough slice for, everybody to take it. As I mentioned, if you segment it correctly, it's always going with a niche, right? For example, instead of saying customer success software, if you say customer success for B2B SaaS companies, then you can focus everything on the B2B SaaS companies. And if you become the number one player in the B2B SaaS companies space, then, that is how today's competition is intense. Like, 10 years ago, when you built a product, you try to be as horizontal as possible, and then you try to acquire customers, uh, all different ICPs. You really didn't even think about ICP. Whoever is your customer, you try to acquire. But today's market is, with the amount of competition, and building products became easy. It's better to become like a number one player in a small niche, and then dominate that niche completely. And that's exactly what we are doing with both the products, so Document 360 and Churn 360. Because the SaaS is becoming B2B SaaS is becoming the next big thing, and everybody want to become like a SaaS player, and we are going after them. And we are doing a lot of work too, like in terms of the content strategy, and the type of content we are writing, everything focused towards that. And that is how we separate ourselves from the rest of the competition. Like, yeah.
Hmm. If you think back about the last 10 years, and you have learned various lessons, what advice would you give to other B2B founders based on your lessons learned?
Okay, one thing, the first thing is, everything takes time. There is nothing called overnight success. So you need to be patient, and always aim for the long game. That is one important lesson I will give. And, there's a proof. We stayed there for 10 years, and some of the products, you see nothing for 2 3 years. And that's the nature of building products. You need to be pretty, like, resilient and persistent for a long period of time. And the second advice, you need to understand the domain very well, because that is another problem I'm seeing for, these days. Young kids straight out of uni, they just jump, and then, they think they can go build something. It's very hard. Maybe the first initial, you probably can copy some ideas from here and there, and then, like, you can do something. But for you to be successful, you need to understand the domain very well. I don't say it's wrong, like, when you're younger you can't do entrepreneurship, but at least invest, year or 12 months or something, understanding the domain very well. And that is where I typically see success, where people understand the domain very well. They can do it pretty well. Even in our case, we have 4 products now, but there are failed products in the company as well. And if I look back, all those failed products are basically, we thought we can also do it by just looking at somebody is doing well. Okay, let's also do it. And we tried it, and then we only after 6 months you realize, okay, it requires much more than like, just looking at the top level. So I think those are the couple of main ones. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.